I'm Going to Praiseland sees Ned Flanders struggle to balance moving forward with his life while still honouring the memory of his deceased wife, Maude. Though the episode looks closely at ways of coping with grief, I want to focus here on how it depicts the complex phenomena of miracles and religious experience. Realising that having so many reminders of Maude around his house might be hindering him, Ned agrees to let the Simpsons clear out some of Maude's things. This is when they come across an old sketchbook of Maude's, which contains the plans for a Christian amusement park known as Praiseland. After some persuasion from his kids, Ned agrees that building Praiseland would be the perfect way to honour Maude.
Praiseland Amusement Park has its grand opening today. We now go live to its founder, Mr. Nedward Flanders. We're going to show Springfield that faith and devotion are the wildest thrill rides of all.
He even places a large statue of Maude with a dedication to her right in front of the park gates.
Well, Maude, your dream has finally come true.
Unfortunately, the park isn't exactly a hit with the kids of Springfield. There's a promising start to King David's Wild Ride, but this is quickly ruined when it becomes clear that the ride is more of a sermon than a roller coaster.
You have invaded the chamber where I wrote all of my 150 psalms. I hope you enjoy hearing them all.
A bemused Nelson Muntz is unsure of how to play Whack-A-Satan.
What do you hit him with? There's no mallet.
You can stop Satan with your faith.
And a lack of alcohol in the park leaves the adults similarly unsatisfied, prompting them to leave.
Can I sit in the car?
Let's both sit in the car.
That is, until something strange happens. A despondent Ned throws one of the Maude masks in front of the statue, and somehow it starts defying the laws of gravity and floating around the face of the statue.
It's a miracle.
Given that there is no apparent reason why the mask would behave in this way, Marge could be right. The Scottish Enlightenment philosopher David Hume defined miracles as events that defy the laws of nature.
If I get struck by lightning 7 times in a week and survive, or suddenly recover from a life-threatening illness, however amazing, these events are consistent with the laws of nature. But if I raise someone from the dead, flap my arms and fly around the room and then vanish into thin air, that's a miracle.
So if this is a true defiance of gravity, with no scientific reason behind it, then maybe it is a miracle after all. It certainly takes on religious and personal significance for Ned.
It's almost like she's alive again.
Even the park goers look on in awe. Mo Sislak, for some reason, has this response.
I think it's a sign from God that we should all go nuts. Whoa!
And a sceptical Principal Skinner is just about to give a scientific and rational explanation for the strange occurrence, when suddenly he falls to the floor, prompting Lisa to declare,
He's speaking in tongues. Oh, knock it off, Seymour.
Also known as glossolalia, speaking in tongues involves people uttering words or speech-like sounds during a religious experience. Skinner then reports what happened to him during this strange, short-lived episode.
It was incredible. I saw heaven. But it wasn't clouds and angels playing harps like at the end of so many Three Stooges shorts. It was a golden elementary school with a teacher's lounge that stretched as far as the eye could see. And no one was ever tardy.
Was I there?
No, it was heaven. My vision of heaven.
This is interesting, as although this is clearly Skinner's idea of heaven, it certainly wouldn't be heaven for everyone, or perhaps even anyone else. Skeptics of religious experiences, and of religious belief in general, sometimes argue that if everyone's heaven is unique to them, then clearly these experiences are subjective and generated by the mind.
Whoa, Frank Sinatra.
For me, this is hell. You dig, Pally?
So they do not reflect any kind of objective reality. Of course, you could argue that experiences needn't be dismissed even if they are being generated by the mind. After all, given that we still really don't know how consciousness works, one could argue that it would be foolish to do so. Dumbledore puts it nicely in the final Harry Potter film, when Harry appears to be having a near-death experience.
Professor? Is this all real? Or is it just happening inside my head?
Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why should that mean That it's not real.
Soon, the other park goers expressed their desire to receive their own visions from Maude.
I want the Maude statue to give me a vision.
Chief Wiggum even seems to acknowledge that the experience might not be real in the scientific sense, but he still desires it anyway. This is notable, as it suggests that perhaps the importance of religious experiences lies not in whether or not they're real, but in what value they bring to those experiencing them. The American psychologist William James argued the same when he proposed that it is the fruits rather than the roots, i.e. the results rather than the origins of religious experiences, that matter. Homer and Bart seize the opportunity to monetize the visions, much to Ned's dismay.
I can't exploit a divine manifestation.
Oh, why not? Everybody's doing it.
But Ned does eventually agree to charge for them when Marge suggests donating the money to an orphanage. So, Miracle Maude opens, and people line up to receive their own personal visions of heaven. Rod, Ned's eldest son, asks his dad what's behind the visions, to which Ned replies,
Oh, there's no explaining God's will, Ratty. That's like explaining how an airplane flies.
But it soon becomes apparent that a gas leak is responsible. So, no law of nature has been violated. In fact, these events have been perfectly consistent with the laws of nature when we consider the hallucinogenic properties of the gas. Which means, at least under Hume's definition, we can't call this a miracle.
This isn't a divine miracle. Everyone's just getting goofy from the gas.
Ned is about to reveal to everyone what he's discovered, but the sight of the crowd's expectant faces and the poor, woeful orphans gives him pause. He attempts to maintain the illusion, but when he discovers that the gas is highly toxic, he makes the difficult but responsible decision to close the park.
I gotta close Praiseland down. Someone could get hurt.
Homer tries to persuade Ned to keep the park open, pointing out the sense of togetherness that the miracle statue has created, but both are forced into action when they see that the orphans' lives are in serious danger. Although the episode shows that there is clearly a rational explanation for what caused the visions, it is clear that the visions still felt very real and very positive for those experiencing them. The same can be said for real-life religious experiences. Even if we can, to an extent, explain how they occur.
Go through the spiritual canon, whether you're talking about cosmic unity, that feeling of oneness with everything, or glossolalia, speaking in tongues, trance states, meditative states, flow states, psychedelic experiences, right? All these things, all these altered states of consciousness that we've called spiritual, depending on our cultures, right, over years, are now known as the product of kind of standard biology. And that's where we are today.
It still doesn't tell us why they occur, nor does it negate the lasting effects that most religious experiences can have, many of which are permanent.